Good God, it's a setup video. Jack32X, you are a f***ing hipster. You might be saying as you log on to Tumblr and call me an arsehole, but this is actually not a setup video because I don't actually set up here in the living room. This is my computer. I thought I'd bring it downstairs into the living room because it's like easier to film and stuff like that. And a lot of people have been asking me, you know, what's your computer like? You know, what's the specs of your computer now that you finally built it? It took a long time to build, by the way. And I thought, yeah, well, okay, I'll do a video on it. So here we go. Basically, I'm going to list all the prices of the components used when I bought them. I bought a lot of these parts in clearance sale, so it's quite inaccurate. And American viewers will notice that parts for this machine are a lot cheaper in your country because in the UK we get taxed through our f***ing asses, and it's kind of annoying. But let's get right ahead to it, shall we? Well, I thought I'd kick this video off by explaining the specifications of the PC straight away. You might be thinking that's crazy, but basically, once you've got an idea of how good this machine is, I can sort of just go into a bit more detail about where the parts placement is and stuff like that, and the cable management or whatever. So the main specs and the headlines, I suppose. Powered by an 8-core AMD FX 8320 processor, overclocked to 4.4 GHz. We've got 16 GB of DDR3 clocked at 1600 MHz. We have an XFX Radeon HD 7950 3 GB, and it's a boost edition, so it overclocks on its own. We have a Aerocore Templaris 750 watt modular power supply, a Biostar TA990 FXE motherboard, and enough cooling fans to chill your house down. These main products are standardized across all regions, and as a result, I'm simply just going to place the products in the description below rather than talk about how much I got them for, because I just got them for the standard price. The case, however, is really awesome. This is a Aerocore X1 Predator case, which is a scaled down form factor of Aerocore's main Predator series of cases, which are just awesome. Just look at it. I mean, it just looks so badass. It's like an old sort of idea of what science fiction and the future would look like, because it's just got all these aggressive lines and stuff like that, and I think it's really cool. I wanted something that was a bit like sort of like an Alienware computer. I know that sounds really weird, but obviously Alienware, you pay a lot of money for just junk, in my opinion. So I just thought, oh, why don't I just get some really cool parts and put them in a case that just looks the business? And this really does. But the awesome thing about it is that it's a MIDI form factor case, and yet it fits a full ATX motherboard. I've got additional fans in there. I think I've got about 5 additional fans in there. It came with 1 intake fan and 1 rear fan to begin with. The adjustable fan vents are just awesome. It's got a fan controller. It's got USB 3.0. It's got jacks, enough room for a CD drive. I've got an SSD drive and a hard drive in there. Plenty of room for components, and it's even got cable management. It's a MIDI case with cable management. It's amazing. I had a MIDI case before, and it was just awful for cable management, but this is just great. I really love the white on black styling. It's really cool. The dust filters are really easy to use. The top panel and the front panel all pop away, so it's very easy to maintain and add parts to it. It's just a great case, and I absolutely love it. I got this in a clearance sale on eBay, believe it or not, for £35 for a case this good. For £35, it's just an absolute bargain of the century. It usually retails for about £50, but that is still a very good price for a case. You have to look very hard for it though, because this doesn't really sort of take the limelight when it comes to the market, as Aerocore obviously push the bigger X3 Predator full-size tower cases, which I do recommend as well. Those are fantastic, but if you're looking for something a little bit smaller, which is what I wanted to do, this case is absolutely perfect. Let's strip this thing down, shall we? Da 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 da. Oh, okay. So there is a lot going on in here, but that's simply because as a MIDI case, despite having the awesome bonus feature of cable management, when you start adding more and more things in, this sort of thing just happens. The best way to go about it, which is what I've done, is just move the cables as like literally the closest tolerance possible inside the cable management itself, and then just sort of like space it away so that air still goes through and the parts are okay. It looks cluttered, I know, but it actually works really well. The second thing you've probably noticed about the inside of my PC is, oh my God, what the hell is that giant thing in the middle? Well, it's actually a massive cooler for the 8-core CPU that I've got, the AMD FX 8320, which I've overclocked to 4.4 GHz from the stock of 3.5. With such a massive overclock on it, and this processor is incredibly overclockable, it's a great processor, 8 cores, perfect for video editing, and it's pretty much on par with the i5 when it comes to gaming for £110. I mean, come on, that's bargain of the century. But it needs a lot of cooling, let's be honest. If you're going to overclock it to that much, the ridiculous levels that I have done, they're going to need a lot of cooling, and this is it. It's a Sigmatech Dark Knight cooler. I've actually fitted a second fan to the back of it, so it's got a real working push-pull system. It's a huge cooler, and it took a long time to fit it in. As you can probably tell, the tolerances with this cooler is just so minuscule in this case, because this case is obviously a midi case, and this is kind of a cooler for a full-size tower. But I got around it by just trial and error, and eventually everything fitted in perfectly. And the performance of this thing is just absolutely amazing. And honestly, it's actually not that expensive for a large cooler, and fits a variety of Intel and AMD socket platforms. So it's actually a really top product there. You can pick that one up at Amazon. The motherboard, as mentioned before, is a BioStar TA990FXE, and it's a really good motherboard actually. It's probably the cheapest 990FX chipset motherboard on the market. Socket AM3 Plus, obviously, for the FX processor, and it's got a proper UEFI mouse control BIOS. It's got full overclocking support with really cool features. It looks great. I mean, the red coloring is really cool, and it employs BIOS chips, meaning that if it does go wrong and something doesn't go to plan, you can actually fix the BIOS on this board without having to like replace the whole motherboard, which is a fantastic thing. Honestly, I've done that before, and it's absolute hell to sort out. So I'm very glad that this one has a BIOS chip just in case anything did go wrong. Honestly, a solid board's a full ATX board, so you know you can look in amazement as this actually fits in this mini case, and it can support. It's got 3 graphics card slots, but I believe it supports up to 2 in Crossfire, and the last one could be like a dedicated physics card slot because it doesn't have the same memory bandwidth. But honestly, I picked this board up for £90, and it was worth every penny. Special mention has to go to this, the monster, the beast, the XFX Radeon HD 7950 3GB graphics card. This card is a killer. I bought this for about £230 when it came out over a year ago. I had some teething troubles with it, I will be honest. The driver support of AMD has not been fantastic in comparison to Nvidia, but the raw performance of this card has been absolutely superb. Thing is though, I'm looking to upgrade this card either to a GTX 780 or an AMD R9 290X, simply because of bragging rights really. I'm connected to one HD 1080p monitor, and I would like to run on 3, and the 7950 is absolutely perfect for one monitor, but it starts to chug a bit with the like top tier AAA games when you push past that. But honestly, it's a fantastic card. You can probably pick one up now for about £170. That said, this is the boost edition, by the way, so it does actually power up when you have enough heating headroom to make sure you keep your machine cool. That said, it has been replaced by the 270X, if I'm correct, though for the same price that I picked up my card, you can buy a 280X, which is actually a 7970 GHz edition, which is a much faster card than the 7950, I must admit. Honestly, it's a solid card though. If you can find this like on eBay on a clearance store, really solid card. I mean, amazing, especially for AMD optimized titles. A quick word about the RAM as well. I've got 16 gigs, which consist of 4 4GB sticks of Kingston HyperX running at 1600 MHz. This RAM is absolutely rock solid. It's low cost and has a heat protector on it as well, but it's not, you know, big or ostentatious enough to like have trouble with small cases like mine. Absolutely perfect RAM, rock solid, never had a problem with this stuff. Really good. Cat! Alrighty then, so that's pretty much all of my PC. But what about the accessories that I use? Well, surprisingly enough, I actually use very low cost budget items, but they give great results. For example, these Gigabyte speakers cost me just £10, and they pack such a punch. But I actually don't use my headset that much for gaming anymore, because I often get too distracted when I have a headset in, or like I get too immersed and I don't listen to people, and people start screaming, and I wonder why. But these speakers are incredibly loud. They're quite nice and stylish to look at, actually. They're perfect. £10, absolutely perfect. Spot on. Keeping on with the theme of cheap and cheerful is my keyboard, which by some vision only cost me £15 on Amazon. It might look a bit plain, and the keys are certainly a tad spongy, but it has full backlighting, or even though it's only got the setting of on and off, which is exactly what I was looking for at the time. I will be saving it for a mechanical keyboard, but actually, this keyboard does surprisingly well despite, you know, it obviously having spongy, cheap keys and stuff like that, but weirdly enough, the etching has stayed intact despite heavy use, so that's actually quite a surprise. I've been on many £100+ Razer keyboards where the keys have just worn out after a month or two. And this one, I've been really putting it through its paces, and it's fine, which is actually surprisingly good considering it cost me just £15. And now for the monitor. Here's the weird thing. I actually bought this on a whim in a clearance sale at Curry's, completely unknown without any research or knowing what the product was. Funny story actually, I was trying to buy a 24-inch monitor, but they didn't have the cable for it and gave me this one instead. It cost me just £86 and it's a 22-inch HD LED monitor from LG, specifically the 22EN33. Why do you think I know that, you might be asking? It says it. It says it right there. Yeah. I don't really know much about how this monitor performs in terms of what other reviewers have said, but from my own personal experience, this monitor actually kicks ass. I mean, just look at the picture quality. What? Oh, God! Who put porn on my computer? Who the put porn on there? Mom! Despite only having one VGA slot and no HDMI port at all, it still produces the HD resolution perfectly fine, and the game mode, whilst increasing the contrast of the desktop making it look a bit ungainly, works perfectly for its intended purpose of games, which seem to welcome these new increased contrast and warmer colours, and actually give you a richer picture. You can easily switch between your own custom preferences and the game mode using the buttons below, so if you can't, if you look at the desktop and you think, oh, it's got too much contrast, you can switch it over, no problem at all. It's actually a really nice feature. It's also impossibly thin. I mean, this is such a thin and light monitor. It's so nice, and I really like the faux brushed metal bottom and the faux carbon fiber backing. I know they're both fake, but it just looks nice. They've done a good job with it. It makes it look professional. I only paid £86 for this in a clearance sale, so I really cannot complain because it's a 22-inch monitor and it's absolutely fantastic. And besides, I was playing this. I was using this computer before on a 720p TV that didn't work properly, so, this is quite an upgrade. In terms of buying with unknown expectations, however, it doesn't come anywhere close to my mouse. I'm not sure who made this mouse. I don't know who it's by. It's in Chinese. I bought this on eBay for £10, and I just thought, well, it's going to break after a few weeks. It will just be a cheap mouse while I save up for something better, because I don't have a mouse at all at the time. But this mouse has genuinely surprised me. It has a Teflon coating on the top, which is very hard wearing, a very thick wire, which is welcome, and a laser of up to 2000 dpi. Now, whilst 2000 dpi might seem completely ordinary these days, I paid £10 for this, and it has adjustable DPI settings, adjustable lighting settings, and programmable macro keys. It might look a bit ungainly, but it's actually surprisingly comfortable to hold and very responsive. I was genuinely surprised by this. I bought this 7 months ago, and it's been perfectly fine. I don't understand why or how. I don't know who made it. I don't know where it's come from, other than eBay. But there you go. And that concludes the tour of my quote setup unquote, although it's obviously not my setup. It's just a computer that I've moved down to the living room. Thank you very much for watching this. This was basically a requested video by some people, so I was happy to do it. It's pretty badass, yeah. I have enjoyed building this computer. It's been a rough ride. It took me about 2 years to build this thing. Due to lack of funds, but it's pretty much finished now. Any upgrade to it now is just sort of for enthusiast reasons. So yeah, it's fantastic stuff. In case you were wondering what I recorded this on, it was on my tablet, which has a 5 megapixel camera. It's the Nvidia Tegra Note 7 tablet. It cost me £100. The camera wasn't supposed to be this alright, but it's actually not bad at all. That's another surprise. A 5 megapixel camera and it's shooting in 1080p. That's quite a surprise. So yeah, if you're sort of a video person that's really into their pixels, I apologize, but this was literally the best recorder I could get a hold of. Anyway, my name is Jack32X. Subscribe if you like these videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.